Alright, today on BrowncoatNerd, we've got a review of the Spanish Star Model BM. And what an unfortunate name, because it is anything but a BM. This was used by the Spanish police. It's pretty much a kind of small version of a 1911. It's not a clone of a 1911, but it definitely has some design cues, and mechanically it is very close to a 1911. So anyone familiar with a 1911 will be very familiar with this and taking it down and everything. I got this from Classic Firearms. This was $270. This was out of, I believe, their second batch. They had some different options. This was the nicer, higher end option. They were graded good to very good. This one is rated V for very good, I guess. And it came with just one magazine, with this magazine right here. I did purchase 2 additional magazines, and they're in both pretty good shape. They got just a little bit of surface rust on the floor plate there. That's no big deal. And I've shot this gun quite a bit, and they both function just fine and reliably, along with the original mag that came with the gun. They had the option to order it with the original green box, which I thought was kind of silly because I think it was like 20 extra bucks, and I didn't do that. And I got the original nicer hard plastic box at no additional charge. This is an original Star box. It's just later on in production, they stopped using cardboard because it was flimsy and paper and switched to these nicer hard plastic boxes, and you'll see these in this transparent color like this, as well as a green. And you know, it's got compartments for, you know, all your stuff in here. And why would I pay an extra 20 bucks to get a crappier original box? So in my opinion, don't pay the extra for that green box, the cardboard one at least. These plastic ones are a lot nicer, and they're still original. And the number on the side here, this could have been put on by the importer or whoever, the police station that took these as they got turned in. So it's 1102. One thing I will point out real quick, it's got that 1102 on here, which you might think is the serial number. It matches, you know, the frame and the slide. But also over here, we have a very lightly stamped serial number. And then, of course, this one, very crappily stenciled in, is the importer serial number with its huge billboard import mark. So I'm going to go ahead and assume the box is original with the gun. Also, before I get any further, it did come with the owner's manual. People like to point out in the reviews on these BMs that they come with an owner's manual, and they're really high quality owner's manuals. And I've never ever have seen reviews done of guns where people bring up the freaking owner's manual so much. But yes, they do typically come with an owner's manual. A lot of them are crappy Xerox copies, which if I got one of those, I'd just throw away. Luckily, I got one of the originals, which is kind of nice. It's neat. And as I'm sure you've seen in the other reviews, it's obviously in Spanish, but comes with, you know, really nice illustrations. You can kind of figure stuff out just from looking at the pictures. You know, got diagrams, and oh cool, we got a little list here full of all the parts that have been replaced on this gun. Oh crap! Wait, what? Well, I hope that's not a sign of things to come, but there are lots of notations on this breakdown here, and of course this manual might not be original to the pistol, but very interesting. This is how I got it with all these marks in here, and I don't speak Spanish, so I have no clue what it's saying there, but yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. I highly recommend, if you get it, especially one of the original manuals, flip through it. You might find something cool like that, or something even cooler, like what I believe is the turn-in paperwork for the gun. These fell out of the owner's manual there when I first got it. I did post these up on some group, I believe on Facebook, and someone was telling me that from this they could tell that this handgun got turned in the area known as the Kingdom of Navarre, Navarre. So that's kind of neat. You get an idea of the actual region it's from. Now the numbers don't exactly match. Now the paperwork here, these two papers go together. Give it 10244 and then 10244. I believe that is referencing this maybe batch number or whatever, that 1102 that I have on the outside of the box that it came in as well. So that kind of sucks. It's not actually original to this gun. Because if it was, you know, I've got the exact, you know, day that this gun, where did I point? Somewhere there's a date on here. There it is. Actual date and time that this gun was decommissioned from the Spanish police. So that's pretty cool. Unfortunately, it does not match this gun. The number is very close. So I think it would be okay for me to assume that this particular gun is still from that area known as the Kingdom of Navarre. But either way, it's really neat. Also in there was another one. This has a different number even further away from the number on the gun. But I believe it's just kind of like a breakdown list of what all came back with the gun, maybe like how many magazines. I don't know. But either way, I thought that was completely cool and a nice little bonus there. Back to the gun. So like I said, this is pretty much just a small 1911 inch chambered in 9mm rather than 45 ACP. And I was somewhat familiar with the Star name. I didn't really know a lot about their handguns, and then I saw these BMs when they first came in. I mean, they were just being advertised like crazy, flooding the market. Once again, I never really paid that much attention to them. But then actually a coworker of mine was talking to me about how her boyfriend was looking for a 1911 style handgun, chambered in 9mm, and was kind of wanting some recommendations on something decently priced. I was like, you know, there's actually the surplus handgun going around for a pretty cheap price. And so I decided to look into it rather than just blindly recommend it to him. And yeah, well, I guess we can see what happened there, because I ended up falling in love with the thing, and next thing I knew, I needed one. So I, you know, she introduced me to him. We got in contact. We've gone shooting several times since then. And he has shot this. Thanks, Nate. I have this because of you. But yeah, definitely recommended this gun to him. It's a very nice. It just, when you hold it in your hand, it just feels like it's well built. It's high quality. Now, it's, you know, what you're going to expect. It doesn't have anything fancy for the sights. These were made in the 70s and 80s for the Spanish police. So it's going to have basic, you know, pretty much military sights. They're not that bad. Throw a little bit of paint on them, they'd probably be pretty nice. Some of the features it has here, the safety on it's kind of in the same location as a 1911. Mechanically, the way they operate, it's different. I'm not going to get into the details of that because I'd probably mess it up trying to explain it. But on the BM, you can actually have the safety on with the hammer down, which on the 1911, the only way to engage the safety is with the hammer back. Now, this is single action only. And basically, you have several different ways of carrying this with the safety on. One, hammer back, safety on, and like I showed you before, hammer down, safety on. Or you also have a half cock feature, which the safety stays down. Place the hammer at half cock, and it locks up the trigger and does not lock up the slide. One of the things people really complain about on this, whenever you watch any review for this BM, people are going to bring up how, unfortunately, they don't make them anymore, so it's hard to find parts. And I'm just kind of like, do you even surplus? You know, most of the guns that people, you know, the people that buy these guns are typically people that bought surplus guns before. You know, they're going to have Makarovs and Tokarevs and, you know, oddball stuff like that in their collection. So yes, parts aren't the easiest to find. And I did do a little bit of looking around for parts on this because I briefly needed one until I got lucky and found the original. I'll get into that in a second. And this one does not have that many parts available compared to other surplus handguns. But it's really not that bad. I found I found brand new barrels. I found several things for it. It's just, I do know the specific parts I was needing. Ironically, I didn't find. But at the same time, I could have probably just gone to the hardware store or, replace these parts, which I will tell you now what was going on with that. So when I first got this gun, I took the grip panel off, and I was just kind of looking mechanically how the gun operated, mainly at this guy. I'll get into that in just a second. But it's kind of wanted to see how the gun, how the mechanics of the gun worked and everything. Safety cannot be put on with the gun at half cock. So grip panel was off. I was working the safety, and I believe I flipped it up, and the slide was not on the gun. And so it just continued up, and the detent and spring flew into outer space. Or so I thought at the time. Looked all over, could not find them anywhere. I was kind of bummed. I think like 2 months later, I finally found them, put them back in here, and continued shooting this gun a bunch. This is a very fun gun to shoot. I love shooting this gun. So when you take the grips off, just be wary of that right there. When I first got this gun, everything appears to match on it. The barrel was in good shape. You can definitely tell it's been used, but it wasn't bad. One thing that sucks on these newer imports of the BM is these two little kind of disc cutout spots on the frame and the slide here. Now what that was, from what I've seen, there might have been other different styles, but for the most part it was usually a diamond shaped kind of stamping put on there, and that was for I believe, the police department in which they were issued to. That was kind of their mark. And for whatever reason, on the newer ones they're importing, it looks like they're kind of milling those off before they let them loose from the, police use. So that kind of sucks. I would love to have those original marks on there. Plus, those are just kind of weird and ugly looking. You have a very light stamping of the star logo on here. There's a slightly different design I've also seen out there, and every once in a while I will see one with a really nice deep roll mark on there. But for the most part they're pretty light, which is kind of a bummer. I would like for that to show up a little bit better. Doesn't have serrations on the slide or anything to help with glare. Not that I can say that those ever really help. Everything on this feels nice. Nothing's too sharp. The trigger does pivot, unlike the 1911, where it goes straight back. This one does pivot. It's a rather nice light trigger with a very short reset. And from what I've read, there are two different style of firing pins. You have a full length and one that's not full length. And from my understanding, the ones that are full length are actually the better ones. I don't know if those are a little better to dry fire. They always say don't dry fire these BMs. But I know the shorter ones are the ones that supposedly have the issues. And the way to find out is just, push that plunger down with the slide off, or the barrel out, slide off, barrel out. And if you see that firing pin stick out, you have the full length one. This is the not full length one. So yeah, just, most guns I don't really worry about dry firing them unless it's like a shotgun or a rimfire. But if I see enough videos saying you shouldn't do that, I'm just going to go ahead and be safe and follow the herd there and try not to dry fire this. Now this does come with a magazine safety disconnect. As you can see, I've removed that. That is extremely easy to do. There's videos of it, so I'm not really going to bother going into detail. But basically, you just pop off the grip and pull it out. Boom, done. One of the complaints on these is the magazines do not drop free, but that's because of that bar. So once you remove that bar, the magazines will drop free. You won't have that issue to deal with. This particular one was made in 1976. It's in pretty good shape. It's got a little bit of holster wear on it, not much. And like I said, I've had zero issues with this. And right before filming this, it just hit me and I'm shocked. I have not shot a single hollow point through this. So I have no clue how well this will feed hollow points. I have not tested it myself. I'm sure you can find a video on it, but I've pretty much just been shooting the basic, what is it, 115 grain, you know, full metal jacket, nothing fancy. I would try not to shoot plus P in these. They weren't really built for that. If you did shoot plus P, I don't think you'd have a catastrophic failure, but why risk it? Just don't do it. Classic is still offering these. I think they have some in a little less fair condition than what this is, but they're also a lot cheaper. I think you're seeing them for like $200 now. Side note, like I said, I paid $270, but that was for the very good ones. Nate, the guy that is responsible for me getting this gun, ended up getting a killer deal on a Glock 43 for the same price. So I'm a little jealous on that. But yeah, so in case you're wondering what happened with that, he ended up going with the Glock instead. Which, if you're going to carry it, yeah, I can't blame him at all. And I love that Glock 43, and I am not a Glock person, but I might have to get one. But anyways, these are really fun little guns. Whether you're into collecting surplus or you want a 9mm kind of 19-esque handgun, this really is a perfect match for you. And like I said, there's some really good deals out there now with the lesser quality ones. You know, you're going to end up with some finish issues, but you know, those can be really fun guns, you know, little project guns. You know, can Cerakote them or whatever. There are a handful of different grip options out there for this gun. I believe I looked on Wolf Springs or springs.com, and I do not believe I found any springs available for this. I would not be surprised at all if in the near future they did. Because like I said, these are just absolutely flooding the market. When I picked mine up for my FFL, you know, he even mentioned how many of them that he's been seeing come in. So that's something I'd be willing to go back and check every couple months, because I'm sure they'll eventually be making some if they're not already. But yeah, if you're looking for something small, 9mm, this is a great option. Just keep in mind it is all steel, so it is going to be a little bit heavy, but it's not too bad. It feels great in the hands. I have shot probably around 200 rounds through it, and like I said, I have had 0 malfunctions with it. It has been extremely reliable. And it's pretty accurate too. It's just a really fun gun to shoot. So alright guys, well thanks for watching another video from me. Have yourselves a great day.